This is Cashflow Ninja, episode 132, with Brett Crosby.
Welcome to the Cashflow Ninja, the podcast empowering and inspiring people to discover how to generate their own income and manage, grow, and protect their own wealth in the new economy. Now, here is your host, MC Lobster.
Hello everyone, MC Lobster here, and welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Ninja. I have a great show for you today, and in today's show we're going to look at a very, very exciting company that is disrupting the entire mortgage finance and securitization market. My guest today is Brett Crosby. Brett crafts the strategy, product, and message behind PeerStreet and is responsible for product, marketing, PR, sales, and business development. Previously, he was the director of marketing at Google, where his 10-year tenure spanned many of Google's most prominent products. Most notably, he co-founded Google Analytics, helped start Google's mobile advertising business, ran the founding marketing team that launched Google Plus, and most recently ran the marketing teams responsible for the dramatic growth of Chrome, Gmail, Docs, and Drive. Before Google, he co-founded Urchin Software Corporation, a web analytics service acquired by Google in 2005. Brett advises and invests in startups and is an active real estate investor. He graduated from USC with degrees in international relations and political science and furthered his education with programs at Georgetown, Michigan State, and a semester at sea. PeerStreet is a platform that is focused on democratizing access to real estate debt. The company provides investments in high-yield, short-term real estate-backed loans, and PeerStreet's unique marketplace allows investors to diversify their capital in an asset class that has been traditionally very difficult to access. Loans are sourced and curated from vetted private lenders throughout the United States who have local real estate expertise and borrower relationships. The model allows for more borrowers to access capital and improve their local communities, one house at a time. PeerStreet's platform is secure and intuitive with an easy-to-use interface offering a wealth of information and tools for every level of investor. Please share your feedback and thoughts with me on today's interview. You can let me know your thoughts on Twitter by tweeting me at MC Lobster or by email at info@cashflowninja.com. And please remember to join our mailing list by signing up at cashflowninja.com or texting Cashflow Ninja, one word, all capitalized, to 44222. That's 2 4s and 3 2s. Have you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Are you interested in real estate investing and don't know where to start or how to get the results you want? For valuable information to get you started, visit JoinUps Properties at joinupsproperties.com. Globally, coffee is a $90 billion industry, and International Coffee Farms offers a sustainable income opportunity through offshore sustainable agriculture. You can own a parcel of your very own cash-flowing specialty coffee farm in Panama. Sustainable income through sustainable agriculture. For more information on this income opportunity, you can download your free report at cashflowninja.com/Panama. I've spoken about the world's most powerful system on the planet on this show, the banking system. And my firm, Valhalla Wealth Financial, helps people reclaim the banking function within their own lives through leveraging the tools and strategies of the wealthy. If you're interested in reclaiming the banking function within your own life and the infinite banking concept, you can email me at info@cashflowninja.com. Brett, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Shout out to all the ninjas out there.
Fantastic. Can you please share a little bit about your background and your journey with my listeners?
Sure, I'd be happy to. First, thanks for having me on. Glad to be here and, behind some luminaries like Robert Kiyosaki, people like that. Someone who I read early on in my own personal investing kind of career. And anyway, exciting. So it's exciting to be on here. My personal journey, I went to USC and graduated. And at the time I graduated, it was kind of like the internet was just kind of coming around this 95, 96 time frame. I graduated in 95 and then was kind of going out into the job market. And all my friends were like, hey, what are you going to do when you graduate? And I'm like, I don't know. What are you going to do? And they're like, oh, I'm going to go work for this company. And I'm like, well, what about the guys that started those companies? Maybe we could be those guys instead of getting a job for those guys. Let's go do that. And there's some other reasons I kind of decided to become an entrepreneur, but that was kind of that's kind of where it led me. And so I started a company with with my brother, one of my fraternity brothers, and a guy who grew up across the street from my brother and me since we were little kids. And that company was called Urchin, and it was basically very early in the web analytics space. We helped build this whole web analytics industry very early on. And web analytics, if people don't know, it's how people, it's how you track how people find your website, what they do on your website, and where they go, if they convert on one of your goals, et cetera. And we built this company, and then there's a lot to that story. But in 2005, Google approached us and said, hey, we're very interested in what you're doing. And long story short, they ended up acquiring us, and then we relaunched Urchin as Google Analytics and built that to one of the biggest analytics products in the world. And I spent about 10 years at Google doing a variety of things, mainly focusing on bringing products to market, finding product market fit, and then growing them. And then I left Google explicitly to focus on this company I'm doing now called PeerStreet. And we can get into what that is, but it's basically because my co-founder came into me and said, hey, I've got this idea. We've got to go do it. It's going to be huge. And this is a guy, his name's Brew Johnson. He's a buddy of mine I knew from college. We had the same major. And I was like, And the more I dug into this, the more I was like, yeah, this has real potential to do something really different and big. And so I left Google to go build PeerStreet, and that was a couple years ago, and that's where we are now.
Well, can you share a little bit about PeerStreet with my listeners? What problems are you guys solving, and what is the value that you provide to the marketplace, and who are you trying to serve?
Sure. PeerStreet's a platform for investing in real estate debt, and let me just break that down. Basically, it's like I think about this sometimes. I'm like, okay, what if the stock market didn't exist, but you want to invest like $5,000 in Ford? How would you do that? It's basically impossible. Like if you called Ford, you're like, hey, I got $5,000 I want to throw in there. They would just be like, what? I'm not even taking the call. But now because of the stock market and because of things like E-Trade, et cetera, you can just simply make that trade and you don't think too much about it or about all the stuff that needed to get in place to do that. Well, one of the largest other financial markets in the United States is real estate debt and mortgage-related assets. And there's all these derivatives based on that. But it's one of the largest financial markets, and most people have no direct access to that market. However, ironically, most of us are actually invested in that market through 401ks, pension funds, things like that, via vehicles such as like PIMCO Total Return Fund or things, similar vehicles that have large amounts of mortgage-related products in them. And then, so basically what PeerStreet is this platform that allows you to invest much more directly in debt. And, as your listeners know, fixed income is a very nice thing to be able to have if you have capital. But in this world these days, it's very hard to find things to invest in to get, reasonable kind of risk-adjusted returns on an investment. And so we created PeerStreet to kind of change that and allow people to invest directly in real estate debt. The type of real estate debt that we focus on is short-term bridge loans. It's like, we're not trying to disrupt the entire mortgage space today, but because the space is so big, you can't just try and boil the ocean. We're focused on a very specific part of it. And that is short-term bridge loans for real estate entrepreneurs, typically fix and flippers or buy-to-rent people. And this is an asset class that's always existed. It's dominated by private lenders who make these loans. And the asset class itself is great if you had access to it, but the problem, it basically has three kind of fundamental problems that we're solving and fixing with PeerStreet. One is that most people didn't have access to these investments. Two is if they did, they had to have a very concentrated position. So if you're investing in this asset, you either made the loan yourself or you're investing in a fund of a lender, because these are private lenders, not banks, so they have to raise capital from wealthy individuals typically. Or you would invest directly in a loan that a lender originated. But you would have to, like minimum investment would be like $50,000 or $100,000, and you'd be typically in a single loan or a single fund for a lender. And that's all fine if it worked well, but if it didn't work well and there was like, the deal went kind of sideways or whatever, if these are, they're backed by the underlying real estate. So it should work out okay, but it could just take a bunch of time and effort. And so we looked at that and we're like, hey, you know what? If we could open up this asset class, make it much easier for people to invest in, allow people to diversify their investments in a way never before possible, where you can put $1,000 minimum. So instead of $100,000 in one deal, you could spread that across like 100 deals. And then we would handle the workout situation if there's ever a problem. This would really change the game for this asset class and for investing, period, because, like I said, most people don't have great places to invest money. And so that's the basic idea of where we are today with PeerStreet. And we're coming up on about 300 million in investments on the platform over the last, we rolled out in October of 2015. And so about a year and a half that we've been open to the public.
Very, very impressive. Now, are the properties that's backed by this debt, is it focused on single family? Is there multifamily? What type of properties are these loans on?
Yeah, these are typically single family, non-owner occupied residential properties that are backing these loans, or these loans are made for. And your typical situation is like you've got a real estate entrepreneur who finds a property they want to buy. They need to move quickly. And what they want to do is buy the property and fix it up. And there's one thing that's great about this asset class is that the borrowers in this space are actually doing these like kind of great things. They go to a lender. The lender decides if they want to make them a loan. The lender has to move very quickly because the borrower has to move quickly. And so there's a huge advantage for lenders knowing their local real estate markets, because they can make credit decisions very quickly, and they can say, oh yeah, I know that property. I grew up around the corner from there, or, it's on the sunny side of the street, or, whatever. And they generally have a sense for what the market is doing. And then the other thing is that knowing your local borrowers is also a huge advantage, because if you already have a relationship with your borrower, you already know they're a high quality credit, or maybe they're not. And so you can make a quick decision there. And then you just decide if you're going to, what the loan to value of the loan is going to be, and if you're going to make the loan. And then the cool thing is the borrower then takes that money, buys the property, fixes it up, and sell it. So the cool thing that I think is really interesting about this space is that there's this really positive kind of community aspect to it, where these borrowers are like taking oftentimes the worst properties in the neighborhood and turning them into some of the best properties in the neighborhood. And so I think of this as like kind of capitalism at its best, where there's all these incentives for the system to work in the right direction to actually improve people's kind of, their standard of living, improve neighborhoods, et cetera. And people can come to PeerStreet and invest in this asset class and feel good about doing it, because it's going toward, those investments are going toward kind of rebuilding the American housing infrastructure.
And it provides value for everyone that's involved in the transaction, from the person investing into it, your company putting it together, then with the loans, the lenders, to the people that borrow the money, fix up the properties and the communities, and then also the communities and the people that live in these communities.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you're sitting in a community and like there's a bunch of houses that start to turn kind of crummy, maybe they have bars on the windows, rock lawns, I don't know, spray paint on the walls or something like that, graffiti, they can either sit there and the neighborhood can get worse and worse, or someone can come in and fix those. There's not like a government sponsored program that's doing that. So these are the people that are doing that. And so, yeah, everyone benefits, even non-active participants, people just who have bought or renting in that community. They are like, yeah, the neighborhood just got better. That's great, right? And so if you do it in a single house, that's one thing, but there are a lot of these borrowers who do, maybe 20 projects a year in specific neighborhoods. And that really builds up the whole community kind of one house at a time. And so it's very beneficial. And then there's these other ancillary benefits like, oftentimes they hire local people and they buy from local stores. So it just kind of stimulates the economy on a very local basis in a way that generally is very positive for communities.
And that's fantastic to see and to hear. And there's a lot of people that are seeing the value that you guys are providing and have been forthcoming investing in your companies. Can you talk about a little bit about some of the investors that you've been able to attract with this mission and this vision that you have?
Sure. Yeah, happy to. We're really proud of the people who have invested in our company. I'm very grateful for their participation. Most recently, we closed around with Andreessen Horowitz, who Andreessen Horowitz has been they're a large venture capital firm. In my opinion, one of the best venture capital firms. I've held that opinion for a long time. Mark Andreessen, he invented the browser. If people don't know that, and Ben Horowitz was founder of a company called LoudCloud. And, quick sidebar on that, LoudCloud was actually an Urchin customer back in the day with my old company, Urchin, when we were doing web analytics. So it's interesting to see these things come full circle. But so that's one. And then our board member from that investment is Alex Rampell, who's just a very well versed in fintech guy, very, very bright. Couldn't be happier to be working with him on this project. And then Angela Strange is also involved, and she's like a co-partner with Alex. And I worked with Angela at Google on Chrome and then some of the social initiatives. So really happy to be working with her again. And then we also have investors like a few others. I'm just going to name Rembrandt Montage Ventures, both of them have been incredibly helpful early on and with our growth. Same with Felicis Ventures. That was led by Wesley Chan, and Wesley actually is one of the guys that acquired Urchin and helped us build Google Analytics a long time ago. So it's great to be working with him again. And then one other very notable investor is Michael Burry, who your listeners may have recognized from the movie or the book, The Big Short. And he's sort of the hero of that book and was played by Christian Bale in the movie. And we're super excited to have him involved. He's been extremely helpful. And, obviously just lending his name and credibility to what we're doing, especially early on before we'd even built anything, was very, very valuable and continues to be.
Fantastic. Now, Brett, you have been very successful in starting companies, and obviously, as you mentioned, with Urchin, it was acquired by Google, and you've been a real estate investor and investing in other startups. If you look back at how this company was started and launched and how you're executing currently, what would you contribute the massive success that you guys are having in the marketplace to currently?
A lot of hard work and determination, frankly. It's not, as I'm sure a lot of your listeners know who are entrepreneurs, it's not easy building companies. And especially in the finance sector, if you're trying to disrupt something or trying to do something new, there are a lot of regulatory and legal aspects to this business that we have to comply with, and we're extremely, careful to do so because it's, this is very important to protect our investors, both on the platform, also investors in the business. But we're extremely excited about kind of where we are and how far we've come. And there's so much more to be done. The three sort of stages of this business that I think about, and we're in the very, very early stages of part one. But part one is we're trying to solve the problem of yield. And that's sort of our basic mission for step one. But we have definitely a longer term vision. And I think we've done that to a certain extent for the people that have invested in our platform. We've done well over 600 loans where we've made loans available for investment. And we've had zero losses to date. So everyone who's invested on the platform has actually made money in their investments. And we're coming up on about 300 million investments, as I said, about going north of 30 million a month. And I think we'll continue to grow that. The second major thing is the thing I already mentioned, where as we continue to build scale with this business, I think we have a real opportunity to help the borrowers out there that are improving their communities. I think we can do that at a much broader scale. The problem in this space is the lack of capital to lenders that then doesn't flow through to enough borrowers. And I think the bigger we get, the more we can help with that, solve that problem. And then the third thing is, and this is why guys like Michael Burry invested in the business, and frankly, I think why Andreessen Horowitz got excited about what we're doing, because we're building an interesting business today. But if you apply this business to the overall mortgage finance system and the whole securitization system, that system's so antiquated and to a certain extent broken. It functions, but like barely. Is that if you take a model like ours, it just connects investors much more directly into the investments they're investing in and cuts out a lot of intermediaries. And instead of people's opinions necessarily driving things, you actually use data to drive decisions and make smart choices. That, I think, has the opportunity to eventually, at true scale, disrupt the entire mortgage finance system and for the better. And if we are able to do that, that's the mortgage finance system is what basically brought the economy to its knees, because so much of it was just sort of farmed out and people weren't paying attention, leading up to 2008. And so I think if you have the chance to disrupt that system, which I believe we do longer term for the better, then, maybe we can be at least part of the solution that helps prevent the next major economic calamity.
You're listening to Brett Crosby on the Cashflow Ninja podcast. We will be right back after a word from our sponsor. International Coffee Farms is a real estate-based specialty coffee farm ownership opportunity. You can own deeded, half-acre parcels in title, already operating specialty coffee farms in Boguete, Panama. They are turnkey managed professionally on your behalf by a team of local experts with sustainable average income of 12% and with cash flow beginning in 12 to 15 months from the date of your parcel ownership. International Coffee Farms' mission is to own and operate specialty coffee farms in Boguete, Panama that are economically, environmentally, and socially sustainable. As part of this mission, 20% of the gross profits of each farm goes towards a socially sustainable fund to improve the lives of the coffee farm workers and their families. International Coffee Farms currently owns and operates 8 specialty coffee farms in Boguete, Panama, with parcels available for immediate ownership. To find out how you can become a parcel owner, you can download your free income opportunity report at cashflowninja.com/Panama. You're listening to Brett Crosby on the Cashflow Ninja podcast, and now back to our interview. With your experience in marketing overall and being the director of marketing at Google, what marketing channels are you guys looking at to grow brand awareness and spread the message of what you guys are doing? Podcasts for one. That's a pretty good one.
But honestly, it's interesting when you're building a business around an investment platform and around an asset that most people didn't either know about or know that they could invest in before. You've got to do several things from a marketing perspective, and when I use the term marketing very broadly to everything from sort of brand to public awareness to then getting people to actually invest. But the first thing you have to do is establish awareness. And then the second thing is really to establish credibility of the platform. And then the third thing is to get enough investors so that, especially with a business like ours, where we're a two-sided marketplace, and I'll explain what that is in a second, there's a chicken and the egg problem, or a cold start problem, as it's referred to sometimes, where just kind of getting the whole system to churn a few times and turn over and kind of work can be a challenge. And so for us, what we did is started in a invitation-only model for about a year as we built out the technology, got loans on the system for people to invest in, got more investors going until we had a little bit of traction, and then we opened it up to the general public. What I would say, my current strategy for PR and marketing is most of what we're doing is organic growth, meaning earned media, et cetera. And there's a kind of two-pronged strategy for that. Number one, general awareness through traditional like large media such as Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Fortune, Inc. magazine just wrote a piece on us, Fast Company, et cetera. And then the second one is more of a it's a little smaller in scope and scale, but it is has much better results, interestingly. And that is driving investors. And so, I'll give you one example. I'm sure you're familiar with MC. I'm sure you're familiar with Mr. Money Mustache.
Yes.
He came to visit us about a year ago, wrote about us, had this great story about it that he published. And we did a meetup with a lot of his people, gave him the behind the scenes tour. And then he wrote this really interesting piece about us. And it was amazing to see the spike in traffic that we got, but not just in traffic, but also people that converted into customers. They became investors, and then they became advocates of the platform and the asset that they were investing in. And that just, it was like a new, a huge spike in customers, and then a new level, like we plateaued at a new level. It didn't drop back down to where it was before. And that's continued to build through channels like him and others where we get the word out there. And so that's been incredibly valuable for us. And then I mentioned the two-sided marketplace. Quickly, one side note on that. PeerStreet is a platform for investors to invest in real estate debt. But on the other side of that, most people who approach our space say, if I want this asset class, I'll go be a lender and go find borrowers, et cetera. PeerStreet's model is different. We have a marketplace on the other side too, where we actually work with existing private lenders, because as I mentioned earlier, private lenders have this huge advantage if they focus on their local market. And you don't want to try and do a business like ours from a single location in the country and just assume that you can lend everywhere, because that local expertise is so important for this asset class. Unlike other asset classes in debt, that for this one is very important, because the underlying real estate is really, and the local borrower, it's very, very powerful to know them. So instead of being a lender, we decided, okay, we will work with existing lenders and effectively partner with them to connect them to the capital markets, whether those are individuals or institutional investors in this asset. So that's our business model. It's very unique. I call it our fishing boat strategy. I've got all these metaphors for it. The other one is like, the way I explain it to my kids is think about it like apples. We buy from apple farmers by the bushel and sell to individual customers by the slice. And I think that pretty much sums it up pretty well.
Now, Brett, one habit I've observed from wealthy and successful people is that they're always studying new subjects and learning new skill sets. What are you currently studying, and what skill sets are you currently learning?
Well, ironically, I can give you like some basic things. Like, I'm always working on running a half marathon in La Jolla in about 3 weeks. I'm kind of training up for that. There's some physical things like that and yoga that I'm doing, but on the knowledge-based side of things, if you look at the trajectory of my career, I've been investing for a long time personally, but there's a much deeper aspect of finance that I've learned as being a part of PeerStreet, and it's been fascinating to be a part of it. There's the legal, regulatory, financial aspect of what we're doing, and the technology piece. I was familiar with the technology piece, and I got the asset class, and et cetera. But there's so much to learn in this space, and really very few people have the whole spectrum and the whole picture. And so I'm always learning new things about our space and sort of things immediately outside of our space. Fortunately, my co-founder, Brew Johnson, as I mentioned, he has this great wealth of knowledge in this space, and kind of has the four fundamental things in his background. He was a real estate attorney, saw the downturn coming, shorted all the banks and everything, and then basically helped his brother with his technology company that they built up and sold. Got great operational experience in tech, so he has a lot of this kind of mortgage finance and technology experience. But very few people have all of it. And so part of the reason I actually decided I would join him as a co-founder in this business is to expand my knowledge of the whole finance world. And it's been fascinating. I learned so much all the time in this space. And I have to say, I learn from our customers. I learn from doing things that we're doing. But it's very useful to have a non-traditional view in this space and come at, because you see the old ways of doing things and you say, well, why are we doing it that way? Why don't we do it this way? There's a much faster and potentially smarter way of doing things. And I can't just say that, that's not just me. There are many people in our company who are incredibly bright that bring that skill set knowledge, like our head of product, Brendan Cow, phenomenally smart guy, former MIT grad, both undergrad and grad school, Amazon product manager, then went to NYU for law school, and then got into fintech. And then we met up with him and brought him on. My co-founder, Alex Perlman, he's our CTO, incredibly bright guy, also has an MBA degree. So people who have these cross-disciplinary backgrounds are very useful and have been kind of core of this business. And so it's great because they can take their discipline and apply it to these other areas. And I've done the same thing, but all of us are constantly learning.
Now, Brett, you've invested in startups. You still invest in startups, and you're also a real estate investor. Is there a checklist that you refer to base decision-making on?
Well, I don't have a rote sort of checklist. It's a bit more gut than that. But for me, I generally, if I'm investing in a company, I generally invest in the entrepreneur. And, obviously the entrepreneur and the idea, but like the founding team and getting a sense of who they are and what they're passionate about and what they're trying to build. I think that's very, very important. The other thing that I would say is that providing a larger vision for, look, we're building this one thing over here, but if we build it at scale, it can really turn into this massive thing and disrupt society for the better in this positive way. Those are the kind of things that I get very excited about in the venture investing side of the world. On the real estate side, yeah, I mean, I mentioned Robert Kiyosaki before, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that was early in my, when I first could scrape a couple nickels together, I started investing in real estate because I just think it's a fantastic asset class. And also I didn't know about the debt side. Frankly, I didn't know you could invest in these types of loans. It wasn't until I was at Google that I learned that you could do this. And I made a few investments in what's called hard money loans or private money loans. And when I found out about that, I was like, wow, this is an awesome asset class, but, it's kind of hit and miss. It's here and there, hit and miss about getting into deals and, it's just opportunistic. And that's why once Brew approached me with this, I was like, wow, this is a great idea because we could do this at much bigger scale as an individual investor and keep rolling into new deals and take a lot of the guesswork out of it. I did forget to mention one thing, and that is that because we partner with existing lenders in this space, we vet those lenders very carefully before we allow their loans to come up for investments on our platform. And then we go very deep into each one of those loans as well and make sure that we believe that they're high quality investments. So we use a bunch of technology to do that, a huge amount of big data to do it, and then there's a big manual process. But that sort of sausage making is what's key to making what we think is like just a better investment product at the end of it.
Now, Brett, a core message in our show is to leave our families, communities, and the world better than we found it by passing down a mindset, values, and principles to future generations, not just money. So if you cannot pass on any money to future generations and we're only allowed to pass on 3 principles to them to build wealth and achieve happiness and success, what would they be?
First of all, it's very refreshing and great to hear that. I personally agree with those things wholeheartedly. It really rings true to why we built PeerStreet and a lot of our founding ideas about leveling the playing field so that individuals should be able to invest in the same stuff as Wall Street is able to invest in. It doesn't mean that Wall Street shouldn't be able to invest in the same stuff. It just means like, let's level the playing field and let everyone have access to this stuff. Right. So we agree with that wholeheartedly. And we have a bit of a populist bent where we want individuals to be able to kind of like become self-made. For me, the kind of things that I think are very important are to invest in things that you feel passionate about. Focus on helping other people, not just yourself. And so that's why I get very excited about the type of asset that we're allowing people to invest in. It's really funny. This particular asset has been maligned with all kinds of weird names like hard money loans, private money loans, asset-based loans, none of them which really sound all that great. And they focus on the sort of transactional nature of it instead of like, what does that money actually go toward? And so for me, those two things are very, very key. And then the third thing is to take some time to develop yourself. And my friend Meb Faber, who's a local Manhattan Beach guy too, you may know him as well. MC, he talks a lot about like, don't get too obsessed with every single one of your investments. Invest and kind of let it do its thing. It doesn't mean just like completely forget about things, but I would say that some people just get so obsessed with every single aspect of their investments. And this isn't advice to people for PeerStreet necessarily or anything like that. I'm not trying to speak to what we're doing. I'm just saying in general, like investing is just one part of life. You should live your life and enjoy it as well. And that's, I think, kind of goes with the entire package.
Brett, how can my audience learn more about you and your company and stay informed of all of the projects that you're involved with?
Obviously, they can go to our website, PeerStreet.com. We're also on Twitter at PeerStreet. I'm at Brett C on Twitter. You can find me on LinkedIn under Brett Crosby. And we have a little explainer video on our website that I think would be valuable to a lot of people if they didn't quite catch all of my ramblings and understand what we do. I think that little explainer video packages it pretty nicely. And then, feel free to reach out. We're real people here building something very real, and we're very excited about it.
Well, I love your philosophical approach, too, of trying to level the playing field. I have a similar approach in what I try to do with my firm and try to make investments that were usually not very well known to the average person and has sort of an exclusivity to it for a certain investor type or Wall Street investors, and make them available to everyone. So really commend what you guys are doing and the vision and the mission behind your company. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey and sharing what you guys are doing at PeerStreet and providing so much value for my listeners.
Thank you, MC. It was an absolute pleasure. Really appreciate it.
Hi, this is MC Lobster, the host of the Cash Flow Ninja podcast. As you may know, I'm also the president and chief wealth strategist of Valhalla Wealth Financial. We help individuals, families, small businesses, entrepreneurs and professionals build their wealth outside of Wall Street and help investors maximize the use of every dollar in their personal economy and boost their investment gains. We do this by combining their capital and investments with the financial vehicle of the wealthy, according to the infinite banking concept. If you are interested in learning more, you can email me at info@cashflowninja.com and I will send you a copy of Nelson Nash's book, Becoming Your Own Banker. Thank you for joining my guest, Brett Crosby, and myself on the Cashflow Ninja today. If you like what you hear and appreciate what we're trying to build here at the Cashflow Ninja, please subscribe, rate, and review our show on iTunes and share our show with family, friends in your network. I'm always trying to learn and improve in every area of my life. So if there's any way that I can provide more value to you and serve you better, please reach out to me at info@cashflowninja.com. Jimmy Freeland and Bob Scott have been in your shoes and have used real estate investing to become financially free. They've designed a system to take any beginner to an experienced deal-making investor in the least amount of time. They offer opportunities from basic education, coaching, bridge loan investing to turnkey investments in the cash-flowing market of St. Louis, Missouri. For more information, please visit joinupsproperties.com or call Jimmy and Bob at 314-799-2247. Coffee is a proven product in a $90 billion industry worldwide. Through international coffee farms, you have a chance to own and operate your own half-acre parcels in a specialty coffee farm in Panama, professionally turnkey managed for you. You can download your coffee farm ownership opportunity report at cashflowninja.com/Panama. That's our show for today, everyone. Until next time, live a life of passion and purpose on your terms.
You have been listening to the Cash Flow Ninja with your host, MC Lobster, the podcast empowering and inspiring people to discover how to generate their own income and manage, grow, and protect their own wealth in the new economy. Today's show notes and resources are available on our website, cashflowninja.com. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objective, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.